Deshaun Watson, it wasn't overwhelmingly impressive. I know he'd been out and under. He seemed sort of indifferent to the pressure that was being cast upon him by constantly being under the George Santos now microscope, where every day somebody's following him with a microphone going, "What the fuck did you do now?" Can't believe he stiffed that Amish guy. Not even on butter, on puppies. No?
Yeah, it was like
He didn't even buy one of those heaters, the cockamamie heaters. Remember what happened to those? They don't make them anymore? The Amish? Remember when they were advertising that like every other ad? Was for one of those heaters that they made. We do everything right here on the premises. Yeah, great. Okay, right. Meanwhile, you see some truck pulls up with Japanese lettering on it. Right next to the buckboard. All right.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right. Happy President's Day, everybody. Good to be with you. Jeff DeForest and the very handsome one over there, which would be to my left, maybe to your right. I'm not sure how you guys are seeing this thing. Is one Mike Lubie, Lubitz. Are you sitting on a couple of phone books, Lubie, to make me look shorter and fatter and older and more Jewish? At 70, man, I'm zeroing in. I'm closer to 72 than 71. It's a little scary, my friend, because people are checking out right and left. Richard Belzer, man. Rolls a 7. Richard Belzer, he's only 78 years old. He looked like he was in pretty good shape his whole life, huh? What do you have to do to stay alive in this thing? What do you got to do to stay in this game? Put me in, coach.
Exactly.
Anyway, rest in peace, Richard Belzer. A lot of people liked him. Very talented comedian prior to becoming an actor, where he was, a cop for many, many years. Was he on one of those NCIS shows? What was he on? NCIS? Okay.
He was on one of the things with Ice-T, and then I feel like he was also on like Law and Order.
Yeah. Law and Order. Yeah, that's right. Had a very successful acting career for a guy that started out in the comedy genre. And Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, who I was talking with a guy yesterday. I was walking Skippy around the church there, which a guy joins me. This guy named Steve. Is always out there walking. A very friendly guy from New York. Have some things in common. He's in his 60s, and he's just wandering around. His wife's been out of town for a month, and he's just wandering around the church trying to dodge dog poop. He it seems like he's looking for somebody to talk to. Anyway, good guy. And we were talking about the Jimmy Carter presidency. As I remember it, I mean, Jimmy Carter seemed like he presided over one of the most failed presidencies ever, and yet was a really good guy. And later became widely respected. I mean, he was building homes for the poor and the homeless while he was in his late 90s. I mean, 98 years old in hospice care. So hospice care is pretty close. I mean, not many people come out of hospice, do they, Louis? Once you're in hospice, you're rolling a 7. Would you say that that's a fair assessment of the situation?
That's what hospice is you're choosing to go out comfortably.
Just go out there with a lot of morphine in your system there, like the English patient. But and I guess that would be the way to go. But became much more respected after his presidency was over. Than as I remember, those were some hard times, were they not? Was that during the gas shortage and all of that other stuff, where you had to line up every other day to get gas, and then your car would run out of gas while you were in the line, and like 6 other cars would also run out of gas, so everybody's like pushing their car into the gas pump there, and then they only let you get 3 gallons. It was insane. But there were other things. It seemed like the economy tanked during Jimmy Carter's presidency. There was a lot of turmoil in the world. And yet a really good guy who very diligently went about the business of trying to be a great American, even after the fact, long after the fact. And certainly you would have to say probably be more widely respected for his post-presidency than his term as president, unlike what we will probably see from the Trump presidency, where every day you're reminded of what a disgrace that was.
And Mayo's right. We do know of the one case that miraculously his mother, the fighter that she is, was in hospice.
She was in hospice? Get out of here. B. Mayo?
She had like stage 4 or something, and it was...
They were already administering like last rites and everything? Wow.
I guess, but she's a fighter, and she recently had her birthday. So again, B. Mayo, still here kicking. Unlike us.
I think she's in better shape than Mike. I really do, after watching what's gone on the lunchbox over the last year or so. And I think it's only going to get worse today, man.
Oh, today's going to be...
Are we schlepping up there to Tommy T's? That's what's happening? Okay. That's all right with me because
I
if anything
Brett,
was worth the schlep, it was to go to Boynton Beach to get this Tom Tanazzini's Louisiana Kitchen. Best, I mean, as you know, it doesn't even like approximate New Orleans food. It is New Orleans food. Like if you went to Bourbon Street, you wouldn't get anything better than you get at Tommy T's.
well, this is Mardi Gras week, so I can't even imagine what he's gonna do.
I don't know what he could do that he would do any better. I mean, it really is fantastic. And then my favorite thing that he makes, actually, which is really odd because it's not really the Cajun stuff that he's known for, is his own home recipe for that crepe lasagna. I think that is some of the most sensational stuff I have ever tasted. Anyway, that's later on today, about 12 o'clock. All right, the first Sunday, now you can't really count the off week between the championship games and the Super Bowl as a non-football weekend, can you? Because this was the first official weekend in the post NFL season, and he still had a pretty wide variety, a real smorgasbord of sports. Did you not, Mike Lubie? Did you get into anything, or did it take you a while? Or are you still in withdrawal from the NFL?
I watched a lot of XFL. The professor.
You did? Okay, I watched a few plays, and I wasn't really that entertained by it. What did you think?
It's not the NFL, but I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I'm still in that afterglow that I was able to get into it a little bit, and I don't know if that's good or bad to say. And then I tried to watch I really tried to watch the All-Star game last night because I'm like, okay, we're gonna.
I couldn't really take too much of that.
I
Yeah, I don't mean to diminish it. I mean, it's nice to see all these stars together, but as the coach put it, the Denver coach, Michael Malone, Mike Malone, he said it was the worst basketball game he's ever seen, and he was coaching in it.
Yeah, it was just annoying. Look, and I get it. We don't want anyone to get hurt, but like you talked about, playing token defense isn't that hard to do.
Token D, just put a hand up.
I hate that. They don't even try. They're just like
token pressure. We called it token pressure.
They're just dunking and threeing, and it's like, okay, I don't need to watch this. Like, and I couldn't. Like, I really couldn't.
I mean, it was all ignited by the very first play where Antetokounmpo, I guess they all knew he was going to exit after one play, so they allowed him to waltz in. Can you imagine Joel Embiid allowing a guy to just waltz into the basket for a dunk? Uncontested, token pressure, it can't be that hard to put up. I played with token pressure when I was playing basketball. I didn't really care for playing defense that hard. I mean, once in a while you would have to do something, to try and at least show that you had some concern about playing the defensive end of the court. But for the most part, it was like, you know what, go grab a rebound and I'm streaking.
Like before people play a game, there's like 10 people just shooting it.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Yeah.
That's what they do. And it's like they literally had Luca on mic playing, and it almost worked.
Yeah. I don't know what they do to fix that. Actually, that was, it's a topic of conversation every year after the All-Star game where the guys inside the NBA say, hey, I don't know what we can do about this. And I don't mind if they play the game. You're right, though. A little token pressure probably wouldn't hurt anything. Huh?
Just sort of
at least act like you're going to, get in the way of a guy who's going in for a layup, and instead of just allowing him to go right to the basket. It looked like that defense that Eric Spoelstra had against J.J. Barea, didn't it? The Red Sea defense. What are you thinking? How is this, can you even use this term? How is this midget by NBA standards? How is this diminutive person by NBA standards coasting right through the lane there, through the paint? And we had what? We had Zoe, for God's sake. Zoe, wasn't he on that team? No.
Oh, you love mixing it wasn't Zoe. That was Zoe. Retired.
He was gone. All right.
Zoe,
it sounds better with Zoe in my theory. Anyway, that wasn't too much. The interesting thing, I happened to tune in for the slam dunk.
Oh, good for you.
And I'm always curious as to who's in the slam dunk. And then I thought, who is this kid that they brought out of the stands? Mike McClung.
It's
Mac McClung. Mac McClung.
I had actually, he's one that was good in college and being around Ken and.
Where did he go to college?
I don't maybe Creighton. I don't remember the actual college. I just remember that name from college. But I didn't know he was in the league. And I love that they only have a 4-person field and that no one's really heard of. None of them have done anything in the NBA.
No one looked too excited to be in there either. I mean, there was not a lot of exuberance being exhibited by the guys that were in the slam dunk competition. They all seemed overwhelmingly concerned that their dunk was going to be panned, which, the grades were very generous. And now, used to be like 5 people would put up a 10 or a 9.
Yep.
Now it's like each person, has 50 points worth of value, and then they average that out. So, and it was a little bit weird. Now, what was the reason? There was some controversy about Karl Malone, the mailman, being on the slam dunk panel. What was that? Was he had he become some right wing fascist or something? What happened with him?
Okay, so I don't know if this is
In Utah, that would be okay, wouldn't it? I mean, that's Mormon country, my friends.
probably. This isn't new, I guess, but it's news to people like you and me because I never heard this. Supposedly, when he was in either high school or college, he impregnated a 12-year-old.
Oh, Jesus.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard. I'm not trying to say it coldly or boldly.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually heard this through Bomani Jones as a show on HBO, and I saw one of his clips on TikTok.
That was one of his topics.
I guess it's old news, but
Yeah.
it never got anywhere, and it came out louder the last couple weeks.
Impregnated a 12-year-old. The
Supposedly,
mailman was sending it in with a 12-year-old.
he was, I think, in high school himself. So it still is not right, obviously, but I guess he was like 16 or 17, and
Yeah.
supposedly, I don't know if it's been proven true. I don't know if
That can't even be washed away with my usual. We all make
that's
mistakes.
why I'm not trying to joke about it. I don't.
No.
I'm just that's what I heard, and then I did, and they suppose
I did not know that about the mailman. I couldn't figure out what the controversy was that he was going to be on the panel, and I saw, this was alarming to some people, and you're thinking, wait a minute, I mean, outside of John Stockton, who else would you want, sitting there in Salt Lake City, which Shaq and Barkley deemed to be, did we really need them to make this illusion that this is the most boring city in the universe, Salt Lake City, Utah?
I mean, between there and Sacramento,
Not exactly an exciting NBA destination, isn't it? Isn't that the place too that has the haunted hotel, where the hotel that the NBA players normally stayed at when the visiting team was like known to be haunted? Is that Salt Lake City, Utah? Also, that would be probably its lone distinction outside of housing the Osmonds. Are they in Salt Lake? And at Olympic Games, where Juan Antonio Samaranch came away with like. He had like gold bullion melted down that they had presented him, and he was putting it in the new Rolls Royce they had just given him as they awarded the game, surprisingly in Sepp Blatter type fashion. Hey, what about Qatar? That sounds like a good place to play some soccer. Let's go there.
So supposedly, when he was at Louisiana Tech, it was a 13-year-old, and it's I guess no.
I don't know if that makes it any better. I mean,
no. I just want to get the facts right. Like if I'm going to say something like this, I want to make sure. And I guess it's.
But this is alleged. It's not, proven fact.
The person had a kid, and it's understood that that's Malone's, and you can do math. So, he got away with statutory rape. I guess. I mean, or underage. I don't.
Right.
Yeah, statutory rape. I don't know.
There you go, man.
So,
my opinion of the mailman has just gotten right
up
the window.
Resurfaced like a week ago. I guess it was sort of known around NBA circles. It never got big because Malone's one of these guys that stays out of the spotlight, so he sort of got away with it, I guess.
The big thing was that he drove an 18-wheeler. That was his big,
he was a guy with a truck, with the tractor, and he didn't
seem like a real American, didn't he? A red-blooded American.
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, I mean, that unfortunately tainted, I guess, the slam dunk competition, which was about to be just badly, tainted to the point of you're thinking about, hey, it's time to put this thing to bed.
Yep.
Except for this Mac McClung guy proving that white men can jump, or at least one can. That guy's hang time in the air was Dr. J-esque, was it not? I mean, wow. And he didn't look any, thing close to 6'2", did he? I guess he was in there with some real redwoods, but when he was standing there, I thought, wow, they pulled the kid out of his stands. He's got a Philadelphia jersey on. He's going to be in the dunk competition? What is that? Then it said he was like a G League MVP, and I thought, well, that's a new one, right? They couldn't find 4 NBA players that would participate in the dunk contest. Hey, Ja, you want to grab a ball, put a couple through the hoop? John Morant says he'll never do this.
Zion said he would, so that would be interesting if you can get Zion.
Zion Williamson would have been a great entry in the slam dunk. That guy has some massive, powerful dunks. But what do you think about all this, tricked up stuff where they jump over like 2 guys, grab the ball? I mean, it was amazing. He kind of brushed the guy. It was like when Skeets Nehemiah would like just brush one hurdle, and you're thinking that probably cost him a tenth of a second. That might be the world record, ladies and gentlemen. Right up in smoke. But he jumps over to 2 guys, which I guess they total like 7'2" in height. And he grabs the ball, touches it off the glass, which you would think would be enough to start your gravitational pull downward. And then throws it in. How this guy stayed in the air for as long as he did. And then he did the 540. I mean, he looked like the flying tomato there, Shaun White. What's next, man? He puts skis on and does it? It was crazy. Could have snowboarded his way to the basket. That was great because, I mean, for a guy that never was able to really do much more than touch the rim and maybe dunk a golf ball, I mean, at the height of my athleticism, that was about it. To watch this guy do that was pretty incredible. So that kind of saved the entire All-Star game, did it not? I guess the 3-point shooting contest was okay. Watching, what transpired there. Tyler Hero was throwing bricks for the first 10 shots, and then he sort of caught fire. I guess he drained an entire rack later on, but still only 10. He had the low total, I think, in the first round. So it would have been the low total period. 18 points, Tyler Hero. You think he was partying in Salt Lake City? Did he find a place? I thought he had settled down, Tyler Hero. He wasn't just banging everything in sight and proving once again that maybe one of the deepest movies philosophically ever produced was Rocky One. Women weaken legs.
True.
And they do. They weaken your bankroll. They weaken just about Here we go with our sexist, misogynist portion of the program here. And that's brought to you by...
Nobody.
That brings us to what was. I mean, talk about contrived topics. I didn't get this at all. I understand it because we're so ridiculously politically correct, sensitive that I don't even understand why anybody would even have noticed this, except the whole thing with Tiger Woods and the tampon.
Oh,
did you see that where he handed a tampon to Justin Thomas as if to suggest, "Hey, you're a pussy because I outdrove you"?
But it's such. I wouldn't get mad about the fact that it became.
It's a joke. Come on, Lubie.
It's just like
Tiger Woods is stiff his whole career. He never broke a smile unless it was contrived. I mean, everything he did seemed to be programmed, didn't it?
Oh yeah, no.
I'm personally, I have to say, I'm enjoying this kinder, gentler Tiger Woods. I really am.
I would have liked him if he was like this. I hate the people that are holier than thou because you always know there's a reason.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's almost, I mean, by his standard of when he was, at the height of his game, in terms of the way he's relating to the press, and it seems like even the fans, and just people in general, and maybe even the other players, this guy has become Lee Trevino, man. He's become Fuzzy Zeller by comparison to what he was.
Yeah, he's fun.
So, and he seems very forthright. And you know what was amazing? I mean, we talk about coaches all the time and their total recall. He was being interviewed after each match because I guess Tiger Woods is the host of the Genesis tournament somehow.
Okay.
All right. So he plays in the thing. Nobody knew if he could walk 4 rounds. He certainly looks like maybe, an aging Larry Holmes, going in there, and saying, "What, Larry, why are you fighting at 50? What are you doing?" That jab used to be lightning quick, man. Stick it right in the guy's face. But, and still hits the golf ball well enough to traverse Riviera Country Club from pro tees with pro conditions. And he shot 1 under par, which was way off the pace. But nonetheless, I mean, he had it to 3 or 4 under at one point after opening up with a decent round. Then he shot like a lousy round in the second round. But nobody even knew if he could walk back to back. And it looked like it was really a struggle for him. I mean, he was doing it seemingly, I guess as well as he could. But, man, I mean, it didn't look like he was an old man out there. He looked like somebody that was caddying on the Champions Tour. Where Craig Stadler says, "I'm not getting rid of old Joe, man. He's going to caddy for me to his grave," right? The guy's 100. He's toting his fucking bag. No, but, I mean, you could see, I mean, this guy used to have like a bounce in his step that was, regal in terms of his stride, and like slumping around like me, trying to find something to eat in the fridge at 3 a.m, saying, "I wonder if I'll be able to get back to sleep before the show." Anyway, it seemed to strike the golf ball okay, well enough to play under par on a professional course. Not the easiest of courses, although 17 under won the tournament. And there were a lot of guys up there in double digits in terms of strokes under par. John Rahm, who we thought was going to be like a superstar years ago, all of a sudden, I mean, is going beyond any expectation you could have had for anybody. I mean, not really being talked about as much because Tiger's always going to steal the spotlight. But John Rahm has won 3 of 6 tournaments so far this year, and I believe he's won 6 of his last 12 starts.
What the hell?
So if you're winning tournaments at a 50% clip against that kind of competition on a variety of different courses that don't necessarily all suit your game as ideally as maybe some others do, pretty remarkable run that this guy is on. Number 1 in the world now, and I don't know how you could argue that. The guy's been phenomenal and held tough. It looked like he was going to falter a little bit. And it's Max Homa, who is from Los Angeles and a friend of the Duke, by the way. I did
Oh,
not
that's
know
nice.
that, but I texted the Duke because he was always betting John Rahm, and he's gone away from that. And he said he had his money on Max Homa yesterday,
Oh, wow.
which had to be frustrating because Homa actually got back into the lead. I think he tied for the lead, and then, man, he became a shankoponymous with the driver. And if you're, oh, it's a pity that drive is slightly offline. If you're slightly offline, you are fucked in professional golf. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they scramble for these pars and bogeys. That is probably more amazing than some of the phenomenal shots that you see. The troubleshooting of the pros is beyond the scope of anybody's wildest imagination. Because how do you practice that? How do you get so good? You're behind like a wall of redwoods, and there's nothing but thatch. Your lie is not just buried, but it's like literally 3 feet under the turf there, and it's right around a tree trunk. And a guy takes like a 2-iron out and whoosh, just hits it. I mean, Bubba, Watson style at the Masters, where you're thinking, wait a minute, man. No one could put that much hook on the ball and have it land on the green and not go flying into the canal right after it bounced. And sure enough, that the troubleshooting that they make, Alma managed to kind of stay in contention all the way, and then nearly put a little pressure on Rahm on the last hole when it looked like he was going to hole one from off the green, and it bounced out of the hole there, and then Rahm he two putted anyway. He made a really good approach putt from off the green, but if he had to have the pressure of three putting, who knows? I mean, it might have happened. You never know what's going to happen with a guy like that. Wow, we're already up to 7:25 here. I haven't even got started yet. I wanted to get into this tampon thing, but you know what? Brett Tessler had a comment on that because Jim Starney naturally tried to fan the flames of controversy with one of his Facebook posts.
Mr. Women's Rights, and I give him a lot of credit for it.
But I mean, how I understand.
I think it's mature, and I think it's dumb for a guy that's gone through what he's gone through to do it. Like, he's dealt with a lot of stuff with women. But
it's a private joke between him and Justin Thomas about being outdriven. Yeah,
I think it's private though, and women see it, and they're like, because that's the idea. When people get mad about,
it's not like he cast gay aspersions, while on my microphone or anything, and just said, "Hey, how gay is that?" Or why not?
But that's the thing, right? Like, we do. And I do it too because I think we have gotten way too sensitive.
Golf is a trash talking sport, though.
It is, but what it's saying is, and that's why people want to get away from the term "pussy" being a negative. Is you're
but he didn't say, "Hey, you're a pussy." He just said, "Here, you might need this because you might be having your period. You can't hit the ball." It's kind of like what was the old joke there that everybody used to say about. You would leave a putt short, and then they would make some reference to your wife or whatever. Why didn't you just let your wife putt for you or whatever? I don't know. Are we that crazy? I mean, come on. It doesn't mean that you have like massive disrespect for women, although Tiger might have displayed a little bit of that.
I don't get exactly. I don't get up in arms. I know there's an area where you can just accept something as a joke, but from a woman's standpoint, it's what are you saying? And then if you elongate the joke to what the root of it is, it's probably very negative toward women. And women are sick of it. So they're not going to sit by and let their sex be known as the lesser sex.
All right. I just think it's a joke between two guys that, play jokes on each other all the time. And, it actually showed some personality from Tiger, which we were looking for forever. He's starting to demonstrate that. It's Amanda Renner, I believe now, is the interviewer for CBS. She does a great job. She's one of the best female reporters that I've seen doing golf for a long, long time, and a very attractive woman also. And Tiger was so candid with her after the match. After each round, I saw him interviewed twice. I thought, wow, if this had been Tiger Woods throughout, imagine he was immensely popular as a dick.
Yeah, people like me would have liked him. I hated him.
Yeah, I mean, far be it from me to be a Tiger Woods defender because all during his career we thought, wow, what a phony, what a fraud, what a joke. The guy may be the best golfer in the world. That does not make him the best person in the world.
Nope, I thought he was an asshole.
Yeah. To borrow a theme from Phil Mushnick, who was constantly harping on the idea that how could they portray this guy as the greatest human being on the planet? He's not. He's done some very good things, but I think he sort of did he have some kind of epiphany after all of these problems? Maybe that last crash, knocked him into some place where he's finally starting to make sense of things. But Seems to me like he's radically different than he was before in terms of his public persona.
He's lightened up a lot, and that's what your fear is. When you lighten up too much, then people get you the other way. So I don't say
Cut the guy some slack, right?
I don't think you should cancel him or anything like that, but I can understand him.
You can't cancel Tiger Woods. No matter what he does, you can't cancel Tiger Woods.
If they haven't canceled him yet, they're not going to cancel him now.
He's crashed 16 cars. I mean,
drug problem. He was
a serial cheater. Who knows what the hell he was doing, right? I mean, that mugshot says it all, right? The total departure from the image that you had. I mean, he's got a mugshot that got Nick Nolte off the hook.
Yes.
After that Palm Beach crash. Unbelievable. All right, coming back with Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. We were getting away from football, but you can't get away from football. And there's off-season stuff that's already going on of a very intense variety. So we'll get into it with Brett. And he had a thought on this Tiger Woods thing also, and I believe we share the same position on that. So we'll let him embellish that a little bit. And then later on, Scoop Skolnick, NBA, had the All-Star break, and I think they don't play again until Friday.
Yeah, they have like a week and a half.
Which may be good. Maybe some of these guys can heal up there. Antetokounmpo was hurting. LeBron, I think, got injured in that. Did he get injured in the All-Star game with a dunk?
Yeah, he hurt his arm on the rim, and he sat out the rest of the game.
Yeesh. That would be something, huh? Somebody actually physically getting hurt in the All-Star game.
That game.
That's like getting hurt at the shoot-around, right?
That's literally
Coach, I don't think I'll be able to go tonight. I just threw out my shoulder. All right, coming back with Brett Tessler, the agent of the stars. Hialeah Park has a boxing coming up. We'll get into that a little bit also. And I got to put the touch on Frankie for the tickets also. Looking very much forward to that. Guillermo Rigondeaux in there against a very competitive fighter. And an undercard that's always splashed and sprinkled with some of the real up-and-coming prospects, especially the Cuban defectors that have suddenly emerged with a real cachet of outstanding Cubas and Leon Margulies to kind of corner the market on those guys. And they're all going to be fighting at Hialeah Park. So that's going to be great. That's Friday night. Tickets available at hialeahpark.com. All right, coming back in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:31.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously. Friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Simple pleasures of this job, the way a stadium sounds when one of my players performs well on the field, the way we are meant to protect them in health and in injury. Less work, more attention, caring for them, caring for ourselves in the games too.
The agent to the stars, the one and only Brett Tessler.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie Lubitz, and always a pleasure to welcome this gentleman. Only has a few minutes to share with us here today, so we want to get right to it with Brett Tessler, the agent to the stars. Brett, how are you, my friend? How's everything going? And what were your thoughts, after the Super Bowl and the things that have transpired since?
Everything's great, Steve. Good to be with you. And, as far as the Super Bowl went, it was a fantastic game. It's kind of exactly what I expected. It's exactly what I predicted when you and I last spoke.
Yeah.
That it would be a good game, a close game. And I predicted that the Chiefs would win. And I feel like experience and things like that kind of favored them. Obviously, you had the call at the end, which was the correct call, whether people like it or not. And it was a great game, great Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I keep coming back. I mean, there's always another call you can allude to in a game. People did this for years with the Ohio State Miami game, saying, well, geez, if they'd call this flag on Miami when they should have, then none of this other stuff would have transpired, and you wouldn't have had the hideous Terry Porter call at the end of the game on the pass interference on the 2-point conversion. But earlier in the game, what's a catch in the NFL? I mean, I watched this guy catch the ball out of the backfield. I mean, he's in the flat there. He looks like he catches the ball cleanly and then proceeds to take a couple of steps forward and then gets smacked and fumbles. I mean, what was that not far more significant since the Chiefs would have taken the lead anyway with a field goal in all likelihood from the spot that they were in before the penalty?
Yeah, one of the drawbacks of the league office and the attorneys who very often try to make the rules as opposed to people who've actually played the game or understand the game.
Yeah.
They've made everything way too complex. And as hard as the game is to officiate these days by nature, take the way the game was played 40 years ago, for example, where the rules were much more simple as to what a catch was, to what a touchdown was, so on and so forth. Even, based on those set of rules,
yeah.
In today's game, with the players being that much bigger and faster and stronger and things happening so much quicker, and these guys' skill levels being so much greater today, as in the ability to, make a sideline catch and get 2 toes down in the split second, whereas just back in the day, you didn't even see those kind of plays. Now, the way the rules are being written and the way what constitutes a catch has been changed, where now a guy has to have possession, get 2 feet down, make a football move, blink 3 times.
Yeah. Bang a cheerleader. Yeah.
So it gets to a point where how are these referees supposed to officiate this? And how is the average fan? Now, guys like you and I who watch football all day, every day that it's on, yeah, we're up to date with every little nuance and, rule change from year to year and idiosyncrasy. So we know what the league and the referees and everyone are now looking for as a catch. But how about just to a more casual fan? How about somebody who's trying to become a fan of this sport? This is where common sense goes out the window. And again, this is what happens when you get too many suits involved and things like this. It's just, common sense is no longer prevalent. And so what would appear to be a catch to any rational, normal human being may not necessarily be a catch to the league office and their officials. So it makes it a little bit more harder for, the average person to understand. And, me, myself, I like the good old days. Catch the ball, get 2 feet down, catch.
Yeah, I thought that was a bad reversal. And, cost the Chiefs 7 points and huge momentum in the game, far more significant than anybody arguing the egregious, nature of the referees' actions at the end of the game where they, actually moved them a little bit closer, but allowed them to evaporate all the time off the clock. All right, a lot of ground to cover here, a short period of time. So some quick takes on things. Derek Carr visiting the Jets. He's already visited the Saints. How significant? I mean, does he already have a thing in mind with his agent of what he wants to do? Is he just parading around to kind of gain some leverage in negotiating salary? And where do you see him ending up? What would be a good fit for Derek Carr?
Derek Carr is a really interesting guy, and I think he's going to be a really good addition to some team. You look at teams like the Jets and what they've gone through with that position with Zach Wilson, and just what an absolute utter disaster that's been. And, regardless whether Zach Wilson winds up sort of, finding his place and, the light goes on for him and he goes on to have a long, successful career, hopefully. There's no indication that that's going to be happening in New York for the Jets. And just based on the things that you've heard and seen last season as it relates to all his teammates sort of getting behind Mike White and the New York media and national media to a degree, turning on Zach Wilson, I'd say the writing is on the wall that if Zach Wilson's going to have success, it's going to have to be elsewhere. And so when you look at a team like the Jets, and the defense they have and the running game that they have and some of the other pieces they have, that team is really only a good quarterback away, I think, from being a postseason type team. So if a team like that added a Derek Carr, that would be a huge upgrade. In fact, if that team even added like a Ryan Tannehill type, that would be a big upgrade and possibly enough to get them to do, what they need to do to compete a little more. So I think, a team like that is the first team that everybody would be looking at. I think some people think that maybe the Saints could use an upgrade at the position, and there's going to be a handful of teams that need it. So again, if a guy like him's available and ultimately a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo becomes available, these are good quarterbacks. These are guys that have taken their team to and into the postseason. These are guys who have, started many, many games, have put up good statistics, and, sometimes a change of scenery is all it takes. So I'll be as interested as anybody to see where he lands, because it's not usual that a guy of his ability is able to be gotten right in the middle of his career with no strings attached. So in other cases, like where maybe a team like the Packers draft Aaron Rodgers and, a team can then trade for Brett Favre toward the end of his career, you still have to give up a good amount to get that guy. And that when you get him, you're lucky if maybe you get a year or two of quality play out of him. Sort of like, when the Buccaneers got Brady, obviously he was near the end. But in the case of Derek Carr, I think he's still got plenty of tread left on his tires. And, because the Raiders had to release him due to salary cap and contractual issues, I think he figures to be a very, very attractive pickup for somebody. And I think he can really, make a major, major difference for a team.
Look, I know you're shorthanded today. You're short on time, but I have to ask it. You're closer to the league than we are. You deal with the owners. You deal with execs. You probably deal with coaches. What do you do with Eric Bieniemy? And I call it a situation at this point that guys now with less experience, under offensive coaches who do the same exact thing as Bieniemy and have had less success, have gotten jobs every single year. Some, Josh McDaniels, have already failed as a head coach and are failing a second time. What do you as a guy who's around the league, when you see what's going on with Eric Bieniemy, who has had to take literally a parallel role with the Commanders just to try and prove something that I still don't know what he has to prove? What do you do with the whole Eric Bieniemy situation?
So the difference between that situation and a couple of the others that you mentioned that sort of appear similar on the outside, like Kevin O'Connell getting hired by the Vikings when he was the offensive coordinator for the Rams, when everybody knew that McVay was really the one running that offense. I think with Bieniemy, you've heard talk of some extenuating factors from back in the day, some legal issues, multiple issues that maybe could potentially make some teams nervous. You're not in that room, Lubie, when he's interviewing with these owners and general managers and people like that for these head coaching jobs over the last few years. You just don't know. Maybe the guy is just simply not a good interview. Maybe he just simply makes people nervous. I don't know the answer to the question, obviously, but I can assure you there are reasons why he has not gotten an opportunity up to this point, other than the fact, like some people might say, that he's African-American, because obviously other African-American coaches have gotten hired over the last few years. He has had success there with the Chiefs. Andy Reid has vouched for him to the crowd that says that he'll need to prove that he can run an offense himself. Well, now he has that opportunity to do it in Washington with the Commanders. And certainly I wish him the best. And, the situation in Washington is a little different than the situation in Kansas City as it relates to who his quarterback's going to be, different organizational factors and things of that nature. So I think it's a great opportunity for him to make a difference there. And if he's able to apply the things that he's been doing, and the things that he's learned through working with Andy Reid in such a successful offense in Kansas City, if he's able to translate some of that into success in Washington, I think his chances would go up exponentially to have a head coaching job in the next year or two to come.
It would become an outrage if he elevated Washington from like 30th out of 32 teams in most offensive categories after, they said he was only, partially responsible for this number one offense he was running in Kansas City, or Reed was running with him. To ignore, I mean, if he didn't get a head coaching job after that. Brett, I know you got to run. Make a lot of money here. I sense this is an important business phone call that you're about to make. Either that or you're leaving town. But you have a plane to catch? What's going on?
Leaving town.
No, not that, but definitely things are picking up with the combine a week from tomorrow starting, and
All right.
look forward to having a great young player that I rep heading over there. And then the following few weeks, we got free agency starting, so things are definitely starting to heat up, and hopefully we'll have some good stuff to share about that in the coming weeks.
Nice.
All right, sounds good. Brett, thanks so much for joining us here and squeezing us in. Appreciate that. Guy's got big business to do, and he's calling his show first thing in the morning on a holiday, right? Are you guys out there? Are you working today? What's going on?
I'm weird about this holiday because we always sort of worked on this holiday, but I know
I always work these holidays. Yeah, I worked Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah for God's sake for years.
Until you met me, you did. Yes.
Until I decided I had finally found my
you found
my path to the afterlife through Judaism.
So here's my only thing. If what Brett's saying is right, then what would going to the Commanders do then? If they're hung up on something he did 25 years ago, which I think is a load of garbage, then why would it matter where he coaches? It's going to be so good there that it's okay now to forget what he did. Like, I don't understand. Like, they forget what guys do.
It's a weird situation with that guy. Byron Leftwich, the same thing, although his name is never mentioned in these conversations.
He's great now. He's not even getting an offensive coordinator job.
Yeah.
He had nothing to do with him. They had an offensive line and Brady's 80. What did you want Leftwich to do?
Yeah. I mean, could you have looked any worse at your job than he did coaching Tom Brady, the greatest of all time? Behind, I mean, it just shows you, how fragile that the whole thing is, and not only subjective, but completely abstract in a lot of ways. Bieniemy, you would have to think. I don't know what he says in these interviews. I mean, that was out there for a while that supposedly doesn't perform well in these interview situations. You talk to most coaches, and they're very authoritative, and then beyond that, and this was the amazing thing about Tiger's interview. With this Amanda Renner yesterday was that his total recall of shit that happened in golf, like in the fourth hole, like 18 years ago, or even further back. Like they had clips of him when he was 17, and then he's sitting there talking about how he was a fan in the stands there at Riviera Country Club because obviously he comes from L.A. Yeah. And, when he was, a sub-junior golfer or whatever, his dad was taking him out there to watch these tournaments at Riviera. Great venue for golf. I mean, just massive. And, and he remembered every detail. Oh, yeah, that was when Hal three-putted from 16. And you're like, what? Who the hell can remember that? Total recall. And these coaches all kind of have that. I mean, I don't know. Did they ask Bieniemy questions about, hey, that 3rd and 2 call that you made there, when it was, a 3-point deficit and there was 1:30 to go in the game? I mean, what were you thinking? And he just goes, I don't know. I said, hey, Andy, put down that cheeseburger and run a play.
Look, we talk.
There I am going Terry Bradshaw and Andy Reid. We were calling him the fat man for a long time. I'm no longer going to do that after Terry disgraced him in the post-Super Bowl interview. That was horrendous what he did to that guy. Yeah, hey, Fatso, waddle on over here. Answer a couple of my dumb questions.
I get it. They're friends, but come on.
I know Bruce Willis sadly done.
Yes, have you heard
this? You're going to tell me Terry isn't far behind? My God, that was ugliness.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jim Sarnia, interesting point here. This was always like the poor man's tournament, though, when Doral was out there, the Honda Classic.
But then they used to get
redheaded stepchild of the 2 South Florida golf tournaments.
Oh, yeah, but then they used to get a fun crowd. I get it. It wasn't like considered the fifth.
It was more low-key and casual, like you seemed like you got closer to the golfers. The golfers, it was never the same illustrious field that you had. Jim's saying that because of the purse money, which could be a consideration. I mean, they managed. I'll give the PGA. I don't know. I mean, the PGA obviously is a very monopoly type organization, and then they had to stave off this invasion from Russia and the Ukraine there, as the Live Tour is just absolutely, I mean, pouring money at players that are not even of any great significance anymore on the PGA Tour. I mean, you miss a few of the guys, but do you really care about most of the guys that defected to the Live Tour? No, because the PGA managed to, up their purses, find some kind of way to compete, make it less tempting to defect. They seem to have a large amount of loyalty among some of the really top players like McIlroy, Tiger Woods, obviously very influential in saying, hey, guys, let's stick together here and do this. Don't sell your soul to the devil for Saudi money. You don't know where that's going to go. I mean, who knows if the Live Tour is going to survive 5 years? I guess from a monetary standpoint, it's not like you're running the Marlins, right?
It feels like it's not going anywhere anytime
Yeah,
soon.
yeah. I mean, they could absorb losses all day long. No, the Saudis.
That's what it
What the
feels
hell?
like.
What is gas? $3.29 a gallon at the cheapest station you can find. You search the universe to find $3.29 a gallon, and the Saudis are laughing because it cost them 2 cents to make. Unbelievable. They're like, you overweight Americans. How do you say "go fuck yourself" in Arabic? I don't know, but I guess it's been said enough times. I probably should know. Anyway, yeah. I mean, the purse money is competitive now in some ways. The competition, though, I mean, wow. If you look at it, supposedly your man Brooks Koepka is now bellyaching. He's never happy anyway. They gave him like $100 million, and supposedly he's upset because he's not out there competing with the best or whatever. And
Oh, don't go. Hello.
now, once you go, I mean, once you're out, are you out? That's
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
Like the guys that left for the Live Tour, they never sniff another, unless it's a major, which they have under different sanctioning bodies. But in this case, I mean, did they ever sniff another PGA event again? Do you think you ever see any of these guys from the Live Tour come back? Phil's done. I mean, if I was Phil, I would have done exactly what he did. Well, come to think of it, I would have done exactly what any of them did because as soon as somebody dangled that kind of dough in front of me. No, I don't know. Can you really condone the human atrocities that, are also being exhibited by the Saudis, including, I mean, the Khashoggi thing alone, right? And that's one guy, Lubie, one guy, atrocious. And we just go, oh, you know what? Don't want to mess with the prince there. We don't want to offend you there.
Andy's right, though. Andy is right. I'm so against what's going on with Saudi Arabia. Oh, by the way, there's a track open in Dubai.
Yeah. I mean, how conflicted is the universe?
Like, we don't know.
Horse racing goes to Dubai and they pay a $20 million person. We don't have any problem with that, right? Because we can bet on a race.
100%.
But the scum that went and, is representing Saudi interests in their sports washing attempts. So we want nothing to do with them, right? Pat, Radar Reed there? No one wanted him around the tour anyway. Ian Poulter, didn't he go to the Live Tour? Ian Poulter, he was finished. He was known for the crazy slacks and all of that. That's about it.
A lot of finished.
Anyway, I always enjoyed the Honda Classic. I spent many years out there in the early mornings at both Doral, which I think you did with me. Didn't you do Doral with me one time?
Last time, and then Trump ruined it.
Yeah. Well, that's nothing new. I don't know why Doral was on such fragile footing. It was a well-supported tournament. A sponsorship deal seemed to be, one that, Eastern Airlines was involved, when I was a kid, and then Ryder took over for a long period of time. I don't know. I guess they might have had some, major sponsors subsequent to that. I always enjoyed going out there. There was kind of a regal, royal feeling to the tournament at Doral. It was sort of the epitome of the game there. The sunshine and the palm trees. It's February. It's Freddie Couples with a 6-iron from 190. It doesn't even look like he's swinging hard. Whoosh! Right? All of the greats of the game used to be in the tournament, right? Big Jack was there. I mean, tremendous. One of the great. I happen to be doing a radio show from right outside of what I believe might have been the 17th hole. I don't know. I was not actually like on. I was on the grounds, but there was like some kind of sort of curtain between the fans that were coming in this area and the actual action. Right? You had to then go inside to view the tournament. But I had a location. I want to say it was right around 17 somewhere, and I'm doing a radio show, and this was when Tiger and Phil were at the height of their acrimony, and there were Tiger factions and there were Phil factions, And Phil's popularity was immense because of the reaction that he got when he was competing in the U.S. Open out there on the black horse at Bethpage Park, which, believe it or not, Lubie, as I've told you many times, I played as a kid.
Yeah, it's public.
Yeah, we took up golf. I guess when I was, right after, I guess around my senior year of high school. I don't know. One of my friends, we played a lot of basketball. That was our big game, and we took up golf for some reason. We just tried it, and we couldn't play. I mean, a lick, but it was a public course, and still is. Bethpage State Park. They had 5 courses, but you want to naturally go to the toughest one. For what reason? I don't know. The only reason to go there was to lose like 400 golf balls. We used to really take the bucket off the range and just put it in our bag. That was it. What are you playing? I'm playing a range ball. Okay, good. And the course, I guess, I mean, we're talking, what would this be? I mean, 45 years ago? And no, even longer, right? I mean, we're talking, 50 some odd years ago. And the course had really, not fully developed yet. It was still a little raw. So I can't imagine the degree of difficulty that's out there. Anyway, the crowd gets really into it there, and Phil was very popular. But this stretch drive at Doral that year was as dynamic as the finish of any golf tournament that I remember. And the crowd was going absolutely bananas. I mean, the earth was shaking, as the different lead changes occurred and whatever. And Tiger held off Phil and won the thing. But that was such an elite tournament, Lubie. I mean, does anybody know what was the reason for the demise there? They lost their sanctioning or something?
They don't have. Remember, they moved the tournament entirely. Trump had something. There's something with a sponsor and the PGA.
Yeah, he bought Doral, of course. Yeah. So,
Yes.
oh yeah, there you go.
We were there. Remember, they
Curse of
offered,
Rachel Nichols, right
he
there.
wasn't the president. He wasn't running for president yet. They offered us Trump, and we were working on getting him on with us.
Yeah.
And we couldn't make it work. And then, it was announced that was the last.
Oh
time.
yeah, I remember that, Ramon. We were way out there in left field. Remember that?
We were near the practice tees. We weren't near the actual.
Okay.
We were near the clubhouse practice tees.
Yeah. But I used to do the Honda Classic. I remember one year it was really cold and windy at that time of the year here. And Joe Rose, Steve Goldstein, and I were out there at 6 in the morning. So naturally, you're lining up about 5:30. And it was fairly brutal. You would have never thought it was conducive to playing any kind of golf. There were always good young guys established themselves as first-time winners. That's one of the characteristics of the Honda Classic, because the field is not as deep as some of the other tournaments. So it gives an Aaron Baddeley, one of those kind of guys, a shot. I remember one of the PR people touting Aaron Baddeley to me and saying, "Hey, watch this kid," right? And he never really lived up to the promise that he had coming in. Lumpy, right? Lumpy Heron, Tim Lumpy Heron, got his first win at the Honda Classic. And many, many others. The Honda Classic moved around a little bit. I don't know if that helped its identity any. I'm not sure that it hurt it, because it seems to have found what is a very reasonable home for its audience there at the PGA in Palm Beach, which I've seen the course. I guess I covered a Honda Classic up there, okay. But I don't really know that many details about that course. What do you have? You got that last hole has water on the right there, and it's kind of treacherous. I'm thinking about the previous course that they played on.
Yeah, the one over here.
Yeah,
the one,
yeah.
Sawgrass.
Sawgrass, yeah.
Wasn't it?
Sawgrass? No, they were there for a little while, and then they moved. That was that Mark McCumber course that everybody thought was a disaster.
Okay.
And then they moved to another course in that area, and then finally they moved to Palm Beach, and it seems to be flourishing there. So anyway, that's this week. The one stop in the South Florida Tour, Honda Classic and golf. Tiger's not in the field, by the way. No Tiger. Jim says 8 of the top 50 only are in there, because the purse is only $8 million. Seems like enough money for me to want to go out there and drive a couple of shots down the middle of the fairway. Those guys are amazing, man. They really are. How they get out of these jackpots? They're in quicksand. The guy is sinking in as he's taking his shot. He finally hits it. It's like at eye level. And then they throw him a rope, and he comes out there, and there's a ball 2 feet in front of the green. An impossible recovery from the depths and the what would the British golf announcers say? The perils of this game is so sad. It's a pity. His ball has worked its way into a watery grave. That was always my favorite. Who was the guy? Peter Alice. That was the guy. The ball. It's a tragedy what's happened here with Jean Van der Velde. That was a tragedy, man. Imagine that. Speaking of midgets, that midget caddy wanted to hit him right in the balls with a 3-iron.
God.
You French jackass! Put that driver down. Collapses are great in sports. I mean, they always stand out, don't they? I mean, Van der Velde was not a very distinguished golfer anyway. He might have had a couple of minor wins, somewhere in Lyon, France, right? That would be the dateline. Van der Velde defeats a field of, 9 people from an old age home, in a 2-man scramble. That was like his lone win. Had the British Open, man, in the bag, up like 3 shots. And all he had to do was put the ball anywhere near the fairway. And what does he do? Goes into the muck. All right, we're coming back with more here on the show. That hour has flown by. Scoop Skolnick going to join us in the second hour of the program. A lot of different things happening in the NBA. The Delray Tennis Tournament had a great final, man. I told you that Kekmanovic, man, he's a tough MF. But doesn't do well. I mean, his record against top 10 players is something very underwhelming, like 3-10. And the guy plays, he plays a dynamite game, Lubie. You watch this guy. He's a little guy. He looks like that Jeremy Renner, speaking of Renners. But he does. He looks like the actor Jeremy Renner a little bit. He plays Taylor Fritz, who is now number 5 in the world, numero 5.
Oh, wow. An American. That's
number 5 in the world, yeah. I mean, I don't know how far he climbs, but I think this season in tennis is going to be amazing because you have the Joker back in the picture, right? And did you see who won the tournament in Buenos Aires yesterday? Won Carlos Alcaraz.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Back in form. He had missed the Australian Open, which Joker won in a walkover pretty much. And so those two clashing in so many slams might really be something, huh? Carlos Alcaraz back in form.
Nice.
So that's good to see. And you have the Miami Open coming up not too far down the road. I mean, this was really the sports scene here for a long time. I mean, we had nothing when I came here. Nothing. Mm-hmm. The Dolphin season would end with its usual disappointment.
The Canes didn't matter.
The Canes, were always, the rage as they were competing for national championships. And then it was... right? I mean, just shove it up your ass. There was nothing going on. Nothing.
The Heat didn't start to the late 80s.
But you had, Doral, and to a lesser extent, the Honda Classic. And then you had the tennis tournament on Key Biscayne. That was great. These were all kind of, a little bit off the grid events that really comprised the essence of our sports scene here in South Florida. And it wasn't bad, right? And then the guy came in, Ralph Sanchez, with the Grand Prix. What kind of cockamamie stadium deal was that? Was that a worse stadium deal than the one that we have for Lone Shark Park? No, seriously. He got that thing built in Homestead, and it's a complete waste, right? They would have been better off growing cabbage there. A complete waste. No, nothing goes on there at that stadium. It was going to be, the spring training home of the Cleveland Indians. And then the Indians said, how far is Homestead from Miami?
Exactly. It's not the same thing.
And that's where TFF was the designation. Too fucking far. We're not coming. Right? So now you got a stadium that's good for nothing. Well, they don't even play any college baseball down there. Nothing. Zero. Zip. Unbelievable. Well, is it still a stadium?
I don't know.
That thing they built? I mean, and what was that? Like, it was a modest $30 million. Imagine some poor farmer was adding up all his tax money to build this place that never did. I mean, I don't think anything ever happened there. They can't even get the Inter Miami Soccer Club to play down there. They're getting their own building. Unbelievable. Is that going through on the land that unfortunately is like laced with asbestos or whatever it is? What is it? What gaseous, toxic gas is coming out of the ground there underneath the stadium where your popcorn is going to be glowing by the time they're 10 years into this thing? David Beckham won't even come there, man. It's just, I ain't going there. Hazmat suits will be issued. You could buy them right there at the concession stands. Hazmat suits. Can't tell the players if you're not breathing. All right, we're coming back with more. Wow. In a moment here. I made a note here, and I don't understand it anymore. All right. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that something about the Jets.
Oh, that's good. There's always something about the Jets.
Yeah, it's 8:03. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine foods served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Tremendous as always, and as with anything that you're associated with, Armin Katayan, infused with brilliance. Can't wait to see it. I didn't get a chance to catch it on Sunday night. I saw the promos for it on HBO and wanted to make a note to be sure and tune in. I'm going to watch it.
Well,
right
you got to
after
get cable, Defo. You know, you got to get.
Well, the motel I'm in, since I had these problems with my wife, you're lucky they even have a
trailer
TV.
park doing it. Is it okay? You're moving between the trailer park and the hotel now. What's going on?
Well, I'm pretty much back where I started in Ontario, California, while you've moved on from the Escondido Times.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. It's President's Day. Happy President's Day. Most people off today. I know all of the usual places are closed. Banks, government buildings, court. You know, you're not going to be able to settle any of your issues. And but I would imagine, too, teachers, right? Schools closed. That's a good thing. All right. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Later on today, we'll be up in Boynton Beach. I don't know where this other joint is, though. Am I going to have trouble finding it, Lubie?
He just gave us the link, so use that, and I guess
because it wasn't easy to find the first place. The first time I went there.
In the area of Nobu.
Okay.
I don't know if it's as difficult to find. I have no idea. That's what's weird about the breweries. They're always in some freaking warehouse district, and like it's behind a corner, behind that corner, behind.
Must be able to save some money on rent by.
Yes.
Not exactly being on a commercial thoroughfare. It's not like you're on Atlantic Avenue in Delray there. If you're running one of these breweries, and you wonder if you should even go back there at first, but then you realize it's all okay.
It's great.
It's all on the level. It's all on the up and up because you're thinking some cocaine shipment is coming in back there. Guys in ski masks and Kevlar vests jump out of the car, and you're thinking, I don't know if I should park here. Probably not a good idea. Some old fat Jew pulling in there going, is this where the No-Ball Brewery is? Oh, no? Okay. All right, feds are on one side. All right, good to be with you here on the Defo Show on South Florida Live. In a little while here, in about 20 minutes, Scoop Skolnick going to join us. Ethan Scoop Skolnick, formerly Sun Sentinel, and all the other papers. I think he did the whole trifecta.
Yes.
Pretty sure he did Palm Beach Post, which I didn't really consider one of the area newspapers. Speaking of which, very pissed off at my New York Post service. You notice I don't have one here. No odds being quoted. 2 days in a row. And now this never happened before where I would call. You can ask for a redelivery later today if they miss you. All right, so 2 days in a row they missed me. Now they've never redelivered the paper. I always have to call back later because now this is the one thing that aggravates me at this point in time. Well, what's the paper worth? Like $3 a day, possibly. It's not cheap though. I mean, they don't give you any bargains for having a subscription for 20 years. And I understand that they probably can't afford to because I mean to keep this thing in business, they have a great sports section. I get a lot out of it. I would have to say, Lubie. I mean, do I not surprise you once in a while with some information? And you're thinking, how did he know that? And it just happened to be in a little blurb in the post sports section because they have so much space, as they call it in the business, that they can write all of these features and they can, crow about how great the Yankees are going to be and how wonderful Cashman is. The rest of the paper, you could pretty much wipe your ass with because one of the things that I read, because I had to read like yesterday's paper over again, was a glowing, ringing endorsement of
That's right.
Ron DeSantis as the savior of our country.
Oh yeah.
You talk about the minute you start seeing, you see the headline, you go into that derisive Spanish whistle, right? Like, what are these guys thinking? My God. I mean, they were all over Trump, but now they hate Trump.
Yes.
Murdoch has turned on Trump. Now he wants Trump to go to jail, and Ron DeSantis riding the magic carpet right into the presidential Oval Office there. That'd be great. But yeah, so 2 days in a row I call for redelivery. Now they've never redelivered it, and 2 days in a row they did redeliver it. But today again. So I mean, what do you do? After a while, you have to what? Would you like to speak to our representative? Does he speak English? I don't know.
Good luck.
What part of the Philippines am I going to be connected with? This is going to resolve my issue of getting a New York newspaper thrown at my door when no one even buys a paper anymore. In a sort of a difficult to find condo unit the first time that you come in here. Okay, I mean because you got a loop, a left and a right, a left and a right, and then everybody ends up driving into the church parking lot and saying, "I'm here, Defo. Where are you?" At the fucking beach. What do you think?
Yeah, you're not in my house.
Anyway, Scoop's going to join us, and he's going to attempt to do video from a phone. This guy is well advanced now with this 5 Reasons Sports Network. And wow, I mean, you talk about a guy. I'm sure when he stepped into this, he had no idea. He seems to be. He would be technically adept, I would think. Scoop Skolnick, a smart guy, one of these brainiacs that ended up covering sports. And he's done a lot of things. I mean, and the NBA has been a particular specialty of his, and of late. And as you say, on that 5 Reasons Sports Network, and I don't know why this is. You would think. I mean, the lack of diverse interests in this town has always amazed me, and it's really underwhelming. You would attempt. I remember when I first started doing sports talk shows, I thought, yeah, you talk about everything. Right, then it'll be okay. I mean, you go off for a little while about tennis tournament or something like that. And people look. I mean, when you go out to the parks here, you go out to any golf course or park, and you're going to see maybe more now. You're seeing all these people playing pickleball, which I did see a couple of points. I was watching some videos that were posted on social media of pickleball plays, and at the highest level, it looks okay. No, I mean they were whacking the shit out of this thing. I don't know. I don't have any desire to play the game. Zero.
My dad loves it.
He plays
because his back bothers him. So he played.
But you're stooping the whole time. They may as well just throw a bocce ball out there to play with. No, something that just drops to the ground and sticks. Remember when basketball was like Tom Brady treated?
Yeah,
and, they took a little of the air out of it, or it had been in the trunk of your car too long, but you didn't have an air pump, so you played with it anyway. And it was like you went to dribble and it just stuck to the floor like silly putty. That would be the worst thing for a bad back, no?
So I don't know. The pickleball, for some reason, has been better than racquetball. So he plays it.
Racquetball is a tough game. That would,
That's what he was playing.
For a guy with a bad back and a couple of bad knees.
Yes.
Easily bruising. That would not be the kind of game to play. I used to play racquetball early in the morning with a guy when it first became popular. It was very popular indoor racquetball in California. And I loved it. I loved any kind of competition. And I had a guy that we were pretty comparable as players. And we both worked at the Fontana Herald News. And I was kind of getting out of there when he was coming in. He worked in the circulation department, which you would have to think about cutting off your own circulation if that was. He ended up moving on to take a post office job. And his theory was, and I kind of mocked it at the time, internally while saying, hey, congratulations,
They're great. It's a great
Jim, this
idea.
is a great idea. But he ended up taking a job at the Fontana Post Office under the theory that he could work 20 years and retire at full pension. And think about it. The guy was a young guy. He was like, maybe like I was, 24, 25 years old. And so at 45, he was already out. Now, is that enough money, you think? Because it would be based on, did they increase the thing? Like, it would have to go up exponentially, whatever that pension was, because a pension from, say, 30 years ago, I mean, would be based on a salary that was entirely underwhelming. As I mean, those times you could live on like a $200 a week salary and actually rent a place in California, while being in the sticks, and live pretty well. But he got out of thing. And we used to play racquetball early in the morning, and this was before they had turned on any of the heat in the place. So it was freezing cold in this room, but we didn't care, right? But inevitably, you would serve, and the very first shot, unintentionally, would hit you right in the ass from point blank range. And you were like, holy shit, Jim. I mean, couldn't you like aim for the corner? But you'd have to just, tough it out and just shake it off. Remember when you could shake stuff off, Lubie? Now I would have been down for like more than a standing 8.
I'm in a weird place because sometimes I can shake stuff off and sometimes I can't.
Yeah.
I feel the day soon where like, oh no.
Oh, as you get older, it's horrendous, man. I mean,
Yes,
it took me
very
10 weeks to
dangerous.
shake off a broken toe. And finally, I think today is the final
Nice.
dispensation on that, where the tape comes off and it's like, okay, you're good to go.
Yeah, you've been
I don't know. It will never be the same, though, because, when you're in your 70s, you can't expect to heal up like you did when you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
Where like 2 weeks later, you were cutting the cast off on your own, even though the doctor told you it was going to be 6 weeks for your broken wrist. And you're out there playing hoops in the park, clearing snow out of the path there, and opening yourself up to, especially, difficult circumstances in terms of staying on your feet and not breaking your wrist again. That would have been ugly. All right. Many things happening. We're going to talk to Scoop Skolnick here in about 15 minutes on the show about the NBA. What do you make of it, Libby? I don't know. Of what significance is the acquisition of Cody Zeller, who you say was out of the league, and Kevin Love, who was averaging about 8 points and 5 rebounds a game, I would imagine, in very limited time with a good Cleveland Cavalier team.
I mean, I think he's
slowed down to a crawl, though, hasn't he, Kevin Love? He wasn't exactly a guy that, even when he was averaging 20 and 10 for years, I mean, he was a very good player. But doesn't he look like, a slow-motion version of himself?
Yes. Look, again, if it was like 8 years ago, it'd be the perfect move. What he's good at is exactly what the Heat need. They need someone that can hit open threes because they actually get a lot of open threes.
Yeah.
They don't hit them. And they need someone that can help Bam rebound. And those were the two skill sets that Love became really good at when he was with Cleveland, with LeBron. What is he now? I don't know. I mean, you're getting him on the cheap, so it's fine. And if he can alleviate some of the pressure.
I don't think he rebounds because of athleticism. He obviously gets a tremendous position. Yeah, because I think his vertical leap is no larger than mine.
No, he was never athletic. What was good is, like you like to talk about with, was it Walton? He's a great passer.
Yeah, fundamentally very solid player.
Great rebounder, and then he became adept at shooting the 3-pointer. So he's of what's available, he was the best there for the Heat, and we'll see where he fits in. If he actually, and look, now he's more motivated. It's Miami, the culture. So maybe you can get a little a resurgence of what was and give him new life. I
don't know about that. Yeah.
I don't know what to do with the Heat.
I don't look for new life with Kevin Love.
But I'm saying if he can give you like 10 and 6, something like that, they're not getting that from anyone.
Well, he's close to that now statistically.
That's what I'm saying.
I believe he was averaging 8.5 points a game. I think I saw 5.5 rebounds, and he gets some assists. And I'm not sure, what are you thinking? And he plays 20 minutes a game. Does he even get that much time on the floor?
Give you 15 minutes a game. Just come in there from the bench, let Bam spell, come in, help Bam. So Bam doesn't have to do anything on the interior.
Not exactly a move that elevates you over the Knicks and the other 6 teams that are in front of you, or 5 teams that are in front of you in the Eastern Conference.
I think it puts them at that where they've been. I think it hopefully helps secure that 5th spot because the Nets will fall out and get ahead of the Knicks and not be in the play-in. I've come to the point where I'm accepting they're not a contender this year. It just is what it is.
No, I mean they seem far away from it. It would be startling if they advance to the conference finals. Startling, I think.
I mean, the Celtics have been without.
Can they
Jalen
win
Brown.
one series? I mean, who would they be playing if they're? Let's say they end up as a 6th seed, so they'd be playing the 3rd seed. I mean, you're still playing a very, very
no.
good team.
If you're the 6th seed, I don't see them getting a series. It's if they get to the 5.
You're talking Boston, Philly, or Milwaukee, one of those 3 teams. I
to
can't
the
see
5.
them winning a series over those 3 teams.
No.
Can you?
Okay, look, again, I still am a little weary of Harden, but if Maxi's taking a step and Embiid's playing as well as he's ever played.
Embiid's great. Yeah, Harden's been fine.
I know he's played well. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm waiting for him to harden. I don't know. Him and Irving are
Harden is also not quite Love, but a slow motion version of himself. I don't know.
Yes.
Did he eat himself out of the league? I saw a thing with Stanley Roberts. Have you seen that feature on Showtime with Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf? And very interesting. It really is. Where it's called Stand. And he was Chris Jackson before. And I didn't realize how great this guy was as Chris Jackson.
He was great. He was an all-star caliber player. It was legit.
Wow. I mean, at LSU, a sensational college player, played on a team with Shaq and Stanley Roberts. Stanley Roberts didn't look that bad. I mean, for a guy that, was known to have eaten himself out of the NBA. I guess, is that Oliver Miller or Stanley Roberts or both?
Oliver Miller more so.
Yeah.
I think Roberts actually had a career to some extent. Miller ran the prime, just couldn't stop.
Yeah, Roberts was, very candid on this thing. Yeah. No, it was a well-done piece. It really was. Talking about how, and the guy suffered from Tourette's syndrome, and nobody, nobody gave him any consideration for that, which could not have been an easy thing to manage, right? Remember, he used to have sometimes, little spasms there when he was out there on the court, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what is up with this guy?" And then, he took the stand there. He became a Muslim, and he was really, he was Kaepernick long before Kaepernick. And people despised him. I mean, there was no empathy or sympathy at that time from Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Yeah, he got blackballed.
Yeah.
Just because of his beliefs and whatever.
Man, what a sensational player, though. I mean, he was. Those clips of him playing in college and even his early days in the pros.
Yeah, he was good in the pros.
Phenomenal. Wow, man, he could shoot it.
The Nuggets, he was legit. It just
unstoppable. Every different angle that you could shoot a basketball from, he was doing it. And what was he? Was he 6 feet?
Yeah. They said he was Curry before Curry. He was an early predecessor to what Curry did. He could shoot from.
They had Curry featured in there talking about him.
Yeah.
It was a good piece. Good piece. If you get a chance to see it, if you're a basketball fan. And I remember him turning his back on the national anthem, and everybody was like, "Oh my god!"
Weird it out. It became a
now Goodell does it. I mean, at the Super Bowl, Goodell's like, with a Black Lives Matter shirt on, and surrounded by like Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Exactly.
What was this vagina thing? I mean, speaking of, nobody in the NFL offices was even slightly unnerved by the whole Rihanna gesture there. And they're worried about Tiger Woods handing off a tampon to Justin Thomas, which he did very discreetly. I mean, look, they were so zeroed in on this guy.
Yeah, 100%.
It's insane, right? I mean, the scrutiny that this guy's under. So he's finally lightening up. And, maybe he was like this before. I think Tiger Woods was kind of well-liked among the players, wasn't he?
Oh. I mean, he was.
Was it only because he was generating so much interest in the PGA Tour that they were all making tons of cash, even if they were drafting in like as a 17th ranked player in the world? Their salary had been escalated immeasurably by the fact that Tiger was out there. So I mean, Phil, credits Tiger Woods with a lot of his wealth, and rightfully so, because Phil drafted in there. It was kind of like, if you were at a radio station that was popular, and they couldn't. You ended up with live endorsements, Lubie, before anybody knew who you were.
Yes,
right, because there was a spillover. It's like Defo can only do 4 car dealers, so you're now representing Buick. Did you ever get paid on those spots? By the way,
I
think
did.
you did.
It's just it would.
You had to battle for it, though.
Did it?
Yeah.
No, you would just forget you ever did it, and then like 4 months later.
Yeah, like why didn't the salesperson put in for your share of the pay right away when he marked the order?
Exactly. It would be like,
so you got to track the guy down at another radio station because he's already had 2 other jobs since that deal was signed, and say, "Hey, did you get me paid over here? Huh?"
Pretty
Something.
much.
That was great.
That's about right. Yep.
But I mean, Phil got how many endorsements by being like the second tier guy? as Tiger was locked up by whomever it was that he chose to go ahead and recommend. He never did any of that FTX stuff, did he? Tiger Woods. He was never telling anybody about crypto.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think he left that alone.
Paul Pierce just got fined by the SEC like $1.4 million for advocating some form of crypto that I don't think you can find with a search warrant now. Not even. Turned out their office was a post office box somewhere outside of Indianapolis. I mean, they led you to the address of the business, and it was the Larry Bird statue.
God.
What a Meshuggah country, too. So Biden is in Kiev today, right? Talking to Zelensky?
I guess so.
Yeah. Does he know he's in Kiev? That would be the question.
Yeah, yes, I think he does.
He does? Yeah.
I think he does.
I mean, he does, look like he's suffering from some kind of lingering dementia, does he not, Joe Biden? As much as I'm, an advocate of the fact that, yes, he did win the election, and thank goodness.
I think he's old. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about the dementia. I think
he's zeroing in on 80, man.
Yes, I think he's old, and I it's funny. This one that I know why she wants it, the Haley one. But,
no, she seems bizarre.
Well, she's a loon, but she's just less of a loon. The age limit thing would be wonderful. My problem is the ones under that age aren't automatically not insane either. Like DeSantis says shit, and it's like, what are you talking?
DeSantis is out of his mind.
Who wants us to be in the 1800s? Like,
let's go back to the Stone Age, Ronnie boy.
Don't teach slavery. What do you mean? Don't teach?
Governors should not be interfering with.
Why are you involved in education?
I'm sorry. Unless it was so outrageous. Like if a college course was now being taught in the use of an AK-47 in a mass shooting, as if to teach people how to do this. Okay, then maybe the governor needs to intervene. But if you're talking about some philosophical point of view,
that's college.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
And what's funny is they have yet to find one example of it happening from K through 5.
He's a big grandstander, this guy.
The point is, this is supposed to be elementary school. That's the early threats were the CRT and the gay and lesbian, whatever was, they're teaching youth. No, they're not teaching youth. Youth, as I know lots of teachers, they never talk about sexuality to first graders, and they're not teaching CRT to first graders. It's college. And AP, which is college.
But it's all bullshit with this guy. You know that.
What they're supposed to be doing? Yeah, obviously.
He attacks things that are completely irrelevant. It makes it look like, it's a big deal.
A laundry list of shit going on in Florida. We have the highest our insurance rates are higher than New York.
Impossible.
Our insurance rates higher than New York, like double what New York. The housing market's a disaster, and there's stuff he could do about it. The infrastructure, we literally had to collapse with the condos. How many years ago? He was the governor, by the way.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't.
I don't know if you can blame him for all of that. But,
but he can take action. That's what I'm saying is he doesn't do.
Oh no, he doesn't care about anything that's relevant to anything. I mean, it's all this. I mean, he may as well have his face pasted right on. And when you get outside Orlando there, and you start seeing all the signs, from the advocates, pro-life. And, they got like a dead fetus on the billboard, and you're like, well, what is that? And you're thinking that this isn't, the byproduct of insane thinking, that this would be something that people are publicizing or, calling attention to. And that's him. I mean, it's crazy. But the Post, ringing endorsement, my friend. In fact, if they don't throw it today, I'll just call and ask for my money back. Because, I mean, after that DeSantis endorsement. But that part of the paper is completely off base. Yeah,
Celine, right.
I think that's the only reason they publish it. That's one of Mike Mayo's theories. It's like they still put out this marvelous sports section so people will buy the paper so they can promote their right-wing agenda. Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, Murdoch gets a lost leader at this point. They're not making money on a news.
No, they're losing like $20 million a year. Speaking of losing, I watched the crawl, right? ESPN. Pick up whatever I can. Does Tijuana ever win a game in the Mexican Soccer League? That was the question. Every time the crawl comes up, Tijuana is losing. As if the only thing they had interest in was selling leather jackets.
I've never seen that one.
And the strip clubs there. Short time.
The Mexican
they are actually winners of one game. They're 1-4-3 on the season. I looked that up so that Sarnia wouldn't get mad at me. Say, hey, what do you mean? Why'd you bring it up if you don't know what you're talking about? No, but it seems to me, like, you ever see down on the crawl, like the team that you root for never wins. I mean, just... Or worse, you're looking and going, wow, Syracuse lost by 27, and it turned out it was the women's game. There we are, misogynistic, sexist, But, I mean, you're thinking, wow, Jimmy B's really losing it. And then you see that, the women have never been very good at that school. All right, we're coming back with Scoop Skolnick. Ethan Scoop Skolnick talk some NBA basketball in the aftermath of the All-Star game, which was deemed by Mike Malone to be the worst game of basketball ever staged.
It's a joke.
You really think it was? I mean, I guess it was.
It was annoying. I used to be able to watch it. Like, I used to be able to at least watch it. I couldn't even watch it. That's all they do is dunk or shoot threes. They don't even like work the ball. There's no plays. It's just dumb.
I do have some Tijuana stories, Jim Sarney, but
I would presume, yes, you're in California.
Love to spread them out over, a series of shows. All right, coming back with Ethan Scoop Skolnick, 5 Reasons Sports Network. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. I mean, we're going to get down there. I know Jimmy's, going to have to arrange his schedule so we can zip down there for a day of shows. That's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. We're hoping a lot of people come down there and join us for that. It's always a blast talking to Jimmy Johnson. His book is getting rave reviews. Dave Hyde, who co-authored the book with Jimmy, took what Jimmy had to say, put it into print, and dynamite job, getting rave reviews as a sports entity and also just a philosophical masterpiece. We know Jimmy was the ultimate psychologist. He studied it in school and he applied it like no other guy. Tremendously successful coach, a lot of different levels, and obviously having a nice life as an analyst on TV. And going out fishing, drinking a lot of Heinekens. But he's got the Big Chill set up, for that Keys mindset. You're never going to have a better time and have a more relaxing experience than you will at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. And at the same time, get all the great food that Dominic and Jimmy cranks out of the kitchen. It's absolutely a great place to go. Mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. They have accommodations. They're exquisite. And you can inquire about that at jimmyjohnsonsbigchill.com. Check out the menu, too, online and start thinking about all the different varieties of things that they do so well at Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway in Key Largo. All right, coming back with Scoop Skolnick in just a minute here, and we'll take that to the top. Talking with Scoop about a variety of things, mostly centered on the NBA, and we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that. There was that time in Agua Caliente. The Mighty Melendez and I were there, and we had all of our money on King's Bishop. Getting out of the parking lot was tough because we cheered too loudly about our victory. It's 8:30.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, astrophysicist extraordinaire, with us here on 940 Wins, 1230 The Zone, and around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Now, you do a lot of podcasting, and you're very diverse in the things that you cover, including one with basketball star Kyrie Irving. You know, we picture Kyrie Irving lighting incense and chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. What was it like? I mean, the conversation with Kyrie Irving, especially in matters of astronomy.
Here's the thing with Kyrie Irving. So as you may know, and of course, if you knew that much about him, you would know that for a while there, he was a big fan of the flat earth. And so my response to that is, by the way, we care about Kyrie Irving because he's good at basketball. So people say, oh, you should not talk about a flat earth. And I'm saying, I don't care if Kyrie Irving wants a flat earth. He's a basketball player. There's plenty of jobs you can have in this world while you think Earth is flat. Just don't let the head of NASA be among them, right? Just you live in a free country. You should be able to say what you want. And so I wasn't as distracted as other people were. I don't get my science from Kyrie Irving, and I'm not going to get basketball lessons from the head of NASA, period. So that's how I look at it.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo joined by Lubie on The Defo Show.
Hey, he does look great, man. Look at that. Ethan Scoop Skolnick going to zoom in here on the conversation. And it's always a pleasure to welcome the founder and the CEO, the man in charge. He is the Jose Suleiman of 5 Reasons Sports Network, which has been expanding by leaps and bounds. And we're going to try and expand our presence on there. I know we talked about that a couple of weeks ago, Scoop. So far, we've done nothing in that direction, but we're going to get it going for sure. How are you? How are you, Scoop? You look good.
I'm good. Jose Suleiman, am I probably.
Head of the WBC, one of the most corrupt organizations in all of sports, the World Boxing Council.
Hopefully he's not as corrupt as Suleiman.
Yes.
Well, if you were putting the money away like Suleiman was from all of those title sanctioning fees over the years and, the arrangements. Yes. We're kind of getting Scoop cutting in and out there a little bit, Libby. All right.
Yeah, it's going in and out. I may do.
Yeah. We might have to back that and go to the telephone here because I always want to get the insights of Ethan Scoop Skolnick. So now that you know what he looks like, because we really haven't established that thing. When we have a guy on the phone, we should be able to superimpose a picture of that person. Like we were doing it on CNN or something, where on the phone is so-and-so, Alan Dershowitz, defending himself against allegations and assertions that maybe spent a little too much time there with Epstein, right? All right, Scoop, ready to go on the telephone? Mike Lubie.
It's connecting as we speak, but he is
okay. All right, that's going to get ready to go here. All right, and many things to talk about with Ethan Scoop Skolnick. Scoop, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, good. Yeah, you sound good now. Yeah,
broken up.
Yeah, you sound good now.
As good as you looked, I think what you have to say, for this purpose, is going to be far more important. But and we did establish your appearance, which is great. Okay, I'm watching reviews of this and analysis of the acquisition of Kevin Love by the Miami Heat. And they also get a guy that was deceased, I think, Cody Zeller. And it's being touted as if it was the Shaqquisition. I mean, is he going to come in on a bus with squirt guns? What do you make of this? And does it improve their chances of really contending for a title, which seem to be a little bit distant, from my estimation right now?
Yeah, I don't think it improves their chances of competing for a title. I think it improves their chances of respectability here going forward, and it gives them a little bit of life. I mean, there's no way they could have come out of the All-Star break with the exact same roster that they went into it. There's just no way. I mean, you're talking about a team that has been stale for most of the season. If you look at their net rating, all the analytics, they're as average as you can be. I mean, their record's slightly better than average, but their net rating is 0.0. I mean, that is average.
Lutarski, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So they needed something. They needed size all year. They needed rebounding, although that's not been as big an issue as I think some people admit out to be. But they also needed shooting in the front court. And so, he can provide some of those things still, I believe. I mean, he shot, he played very well last year, actually. He was a candidate for Sixth Man of the Year. So he still had something left as of a year ago. He's not a guy who ever really relied on his athleticism anyway. He still shot about 35.5% from three this year. It's not great, but it would be one of the best on the Heat roster. So, I mean, it's an improvement over what they've had. And
that's barely above the Mendoza line, though, where it equates out to just taking a nice 12-footer and knocking it down like you were Oscar Robertson.
Well, it does, but when you're shooting 32% from three as a team, yes. I mean, so I think that, it's one of those things where, you bring him in and you add him to a thin front court rotation, and he's a good passer. They'll be able to run some offense through him. They may be able to sit Bam without everything going to hell, which is kind of what happened with Dedmon early in the season. I mean, if you literally take the Dedmon minutes out, early in the season, they probably win 3 or 4 more games. So I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. I think overall, in terms of what they did at the deadline, it's like a B- because they essentially dumped Dedmon's contract. They gave up a second-round pick, which they don't really care about. And they picked up a guy in Love who might actually help them. He won't hurt them like Dedmon did. And then the Cody Zeller thing, I mean, he's a body, I guess. I mean, the thing about Cody Zeller is when his skill set was there, he does some of the same things that Love does in the sense of He can pass. He can rebound. So, you're just looking for competence. Like, these are not – Cody Zeller's not going to play heavy minutes in the postseason, but you're just looking to get there. So I think their ceiling is a little higher, but I still think it's second-round max. Like, that's where I have them right now, and at least it'll give us something to talk about for a week or two.
Well, and a lot of it had to do – supposedly they were looking at point guards, and then they went with a second big because – their feelings of Lowry are different than the rest of the world. And that's been the case the entire time now. And even people like me who are happy about the move have had to accept it was a horrible move. What are you hearing? I know you're tied in with the Heat. I know we have one idea of him, but supposedly Lowry is going to fix everything and he now cares, which was supposedly the reality in the offseason.
60 games in, it's a good time to turn it around. It really is. The
Lowry.
Well, look, I had reported when things started to go really south. First thing, I didn't like the vibe the whole year, but then when things started to go really south about a month ago, I was pushing for Gabe to start, and then because I knew some of the stuff that was going on behind the scenes, and also Spo has been kind of the last holdout on Kyle, and then he started to cut his minutes significantly. First, it was down the stretch of games, and then it was the entire fourth quarter for game after game. So it's like he relented at a certain point. And then I was basically told, don't be stunned if he has like almost no role the rest of the season. And that if this kind of knee injury is going to be, we're going to be talking about this knee injury and there's going to be a press release that, Kyle Lowry has had arthroscopic surgery or something like that. That's how everybody kind of saves face here.
Yeah.
Now, so I was a little surprised by the report from Barry that they're going to try to work things out where he's actually may play towards the end of this month. I still think that's probably premature in terms of when he would actually be back. I think it'd probably be closer to March that we actually see him on the court again. But I just think that, look, I feel like certain ships have sailed with him. Like, I don't think he's coming back as a starter. Okay. I like whether or not it's Gabe or maybe it's Oladipo. When he's healthy, I feel like they're going to make a change. They're going to use Spoelstra will sometimes use the addition of a player as a reason to make another adjacent move to it. So I could see a scenario where if Oladipo is healthy, remember they shut him down before the All-Star break. So if he comes back and he feels pretty good coming out of the break, I would not be stunned. I still think it's going to be Vincent, but I wouldn't be stunned if he comes back and says, okay, we're integrating Love now. Let's integrate this new lineup and put Oladipo out there, because the reality is, and Gabe's not a true point guard anyway, so the reality is, if you have Bam and you have Jimmy and you have Kevin Love and you have Tyler and you have Oladipo in the starting lineup, you don't really need a point guard because you have five guys. You can even run offense through Kevin Love. He's not going to bring the ball up the court, but you can run offense through him. So you have five guys who can handle and pass. Yep. And so if that's the case, then you don't – I mean, the fact that Gabe is, functionally a little bit more of a point guard than Victor Oladipo doesn't matter so much. And you could potentially go with Vic. That's what Brady at my network thinks they may do. I wouldn't be stunned by it. If Eric's going to make a move, he's going to make the moves. He's going to set a new starting lineup and see how this goes over the last 23 games. I don't think he's going to do it piecemeal. So that's a possibility. But I think the one scenario we are not going to see, unless a new starting lineup bombs, is Kyle Lowry coming back as a starter. I don't see that happening. A lot of this was about role, and so I think the Heat have basically come to the conclusion that that's not workable right now.
Living up to your reputation as a Scoop, that day we met you at the track, I happened to run into Dr. Harlan Selznick literally in the parking lot on my way out. And he was stuffing Kyle Lowry in the trunk, getting him ready for that arthroscopic surgery that he somehow mysteriously needed. I heard somebody, and I can't remember where I heard this. I think I was watching TV, and somebody made a brilliant case for why Russell Westbrook would be a subject of interest and maybe an asset to the Miami Heat. Could you have seen that transpiring, and is there any possibility that does?
They had some interest. I don't think it happens now. I feel, again, when Barry's report came out about them having mixed reviews of Westbrook, to me that was the signal that the Heat were making it known to the public that this was probably not going to happen, whether it was their choice or going to be Russ's choice.
Yeah.
There are problems. There are problems with a Westbrook fit, for sure. I mean, this is a bad shooting team. He would have made it worse. Obviously he can still provide rim pressure, which is something that they don't really have a lot of on the roster. So I think there was interest. I know there was interest, but I don't think the interest was so significant that they were going to blow everything up to do it. So I don't anticipate that. To me, the getting the extra big when you already had Orlando Robinson, on a two-way and playing some minutes, and you have Yurtseven potentially coming back, that told me that they feel okay with their guard situation. So, because you've got a guy you're playing behind Bam, who's been all right, Orlando Robinson. I don't think his upside's that high, but he's fine. He's not dead, which was better. And then Yurtseven is on the path back. So you had them, and then you not only add Love, but you add Zeller. You go from a team that potentially, that had like two bigs to a team that has like five bigs. You're basically telling people, okay, we think that Oladipo and Lowry are going to give us something. So I feel like this was the rebalancing of the roster, but you don't rebalance the roster that much if you think you desperately need a guard. So I don't think Russ is coming, no, and I think that. People will, he may have some moments wherever he goes. I know he's decided. I think he said that Chicago and Washington now, which he had a good experience in Washington, and they are a play-in team right now in the East. But I don't know. But the Chicago thing, the thing that's more likely to me, but it would have to happen before March 1st, is if he goes to Chicago to go play for Billy Donovan again, that Goran gets released. And if that's
there you go.
Okay.
Now you're talking, Scoop. Now you got our attention.
Interesting. He loves it.
Well, right. Because they have to clear a roster spot. And I talked to Goran at length when he was down here, and he wants to play 2 more years after this at low minutes. He feels great, and he wants to be here. I mean, he's always wanted to be back here. Yeah. So I don't think like for that, like if they're not getting the kind of feeling about Lowry that they need to get for Oladipo, could they bring in, Goran if he's released the next week or two? They could, to play low minutes and kind of, again, that would rejuvenate the locker room too to a certain degree. Yep. Because,
after that, they have to suit up Chris Quinn. Yeah, I mean,
well,
explored like a lot of options.
This team is it's interesting. I feel like this is a 1950s basketball team at this point. If you get my drift. It's interesting how that's happened here. But yeah, Goran and Chris Quinn would certainly add to that. But yeah, I think that they're going to kind of hold tight with their guard situation. Like I said, unless somebody like Dragic pops 3 and it's just this feel good story, that maybe give them a few good minutes off the bench.
Look, the Heat are never one to accept we're not contending for a title, but you said it, Dave and I were talking about it. It feels like this team, with these additions, if they work out highest ceiling, it can be a 4 to 6 seed. And then if you're playing a Cavs or a beat-up Nets or Knicks team, should be able to get out of the first round. Right. But then you're going to lose to either a Sixers or a Bucks or a Celtics. Like, it feels like even if you're the Heat somewhere in the back of your mind, you sort of have to accept that at this point when you weren't able to make any moves off season or deadline. Now, here's the deal. The Heat are always worrying about now and the future, and they don't accept this level going forward. They're always looking to be a championship contender. Problem is Durant wanted to go to Phoenix as it came out, so he's not going anywhere. Mitchell, he must be pretty happy in Cleveland. He's going to be there. Like, all the big names that you heard the Heat involved with are now in places, and they're set. What is the plan from going forward? Because they're not, from what we know of the Heat, they don't settle with, we're okay.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the plan going forward, I think the plan to a certain degree is kind of what it's been. You're waiting for a star to emerge that you either have the assets to get or just pushes his way here. And the reality is nobody's pushed his way here since Jimmy. Yep. So, none of those dominoes kind of fell. You needed, Mitchell could have, I guess, but he had limited leverage, and just look, I mean, Cleveland was not on his original list. And, we see this a lot. Like, guys are getting sent to places. Tyree wasn't necessarily supposed to go to Dallas. Teams are trying to taking their leverage back with some of these guys. And that's going to happen more and more because I think there's going to be a lockout. Because I think that the owners have had enough of this load management and forcing my way to other teams and all that. There's going to be backlash here. But I just think for the Heat, it's, you kind of needed that push. I mean, Mitchell wanted to play with Bam. I'm not 100% sure that Mitchell wanted to play with Jimmy.
Yeah, Butler.
And I don't think he dislikes Jimmy, but there was a lot of talk. We kind of hinted at it on Five on the Floor that he had been informed of how difficult it is to play with Jimmy on a daily basis, and he wasn't necessarily down with that. He would have definitely come. Once he was traded, he would have come, but he definitely would have been happy about coming to Miami. But it wasn't enough for him to push his way to Miami, if that makes sense, to play with Bam. So you need a guy who, like, Jimmy was like the best of all worlds because he had the Dwayne relationship. And so even though Dwayne wasn't here anymore, it's like Jimmy saw himself as a potential successor to Dwayne. And he knew the work ethic required. And Jimmy, for all of Jimmy's idiosyncrasies, the work is not the problem with him. So, that's what he was looking for coming out of Philadelphia and Minnesota. So you need a guy like that. So I think the plan is kind of, okay, they're going to have more assets in the sense of they have the Lowry contract. They could trade Tyler if they needed to. They've retained their first-round picks. They didn't trade any of them. They don't have some of the restrictions that they had this season when they had to wait until a certain time to make a trade. So I just feel like they feel a little less hamstrung by everything. Duncan's a little closer towards the end of his contract. I mean, there's some things that make it easier, but I don't think the plan has changed. The plan is you're trying to, you can't really get a star in free agency anymore. They don't make it to free agency.
Nope.
So you have to act a year or two early. They know that, but getting the guy is a whole nother story. So that's kind of the thing. To me, the interesting decision is you pay guys like Strus and Vincent, who you could pay over the cap. But again, are you committing to mediocrity at that point? If you're just paying guys because they're pretty good players that you developed, that's another decision they've got to make.
Chris Greer becoming a consultant for the Miami Heat there. Let's have the year of Pat Riley. Let's commit to mediocrity and just perpetuate it forever. We're really good at that. Ethan Scoop Skolnick with us here on the show. And of course, Ethan hosts his own show on his own network. 5 Reasons Sports Network, which is really, really strong and does a tremendous job. And with nobody covering local sports anymore, Scoop, this was your thing. Like the newspapers had sort of reduced their space, but they hadn't gone to the point of being nearly extinct. And now you had NBC saying we're dumping our sports department. I know. WTVJ. I mean, they kind of invented the genre there a long time ago with Bernie Rosen, Roy Firestone. So, I mean, and a lot of legends that passed through there, and all of a sudden they don't even want to cover this stuff. So 9 o'clock in the morning, Ethan Skolnick, you catch him on 5 Reasons Sports Network, which really goes into great detail on all of the things going on the local scene, including and especially regarding the Miami Heat. I think the general, Sherman Douglas, might have been an answer for him if he could have dug a basketball out of the garage there. Maybe John Crotty could have resurrected some of his game. All right, the All-Star game panned, I mean, as being ridiculous. This is nothing new. I mean, it's like a lot of this stuff.
No.
I mean, we said the same thing about the Pro Bowl in football. And, I mean, is it time to admit that it's not worth conducting, or do you still think it has some value for the fans here? As you had Tatum go for 55, no defense.
Yeah, they'll conduct it because it's really about the parties of the weekend and charity events and all
in Salt Lake City.
In Salt Lake, I know Barkley said that these people
said it was a dump, man. He couldn't even get together with the Osmonds for a sing along. Nothing.
Yeah, well, I mean, they got the beer is a third of the alcohol there, but yeah, I mean, I think that they're always going to have it. I mean, they tweak the format a million different ways, but it's just difficult to get the players to care about playing a competitive game. And this season I knew was going to be a complete circus because it's really this whole year is about LeBron breaking the points record. So it's just going to be a tribute to him and kind of, I liked them drafting right before the game. I thought the draft before the game was the most fun part of the entire evening. and every few years, they'll have like a novelty act at the dunk contest, which will resurrect it for 1 year, and then it'll be total trash the next year. And that's kind of what
This guy was great.
year
This
was
Mac
fun.
McClung. Yeah, he was unbelievable.
He was, because last year was the worst dunk contest in history, and I said again that they should shelve it. And then they always get it saved, and then that keeps it around for a couple of years, and then they were like, why are we still doing this thing? And then it's saved again. So I think, like I said, that is an entertainment product for a certain demographic that I've probably aged out of. The whole All-Star thing. I mean, I covered 9 or 10 of them, and it wasn't Salt Lake. I had a credential this year, and I was like, well, really, why am I going? They've also made it more difficult for the media to get any access to anything to the players. It used to be like 2 or 3 days. You had time with them. I had one-on-ones with LeBron at All-Star like 10 years ago. It's impossible to get that kind of access. They've invited so much international media at this point that it's just like you can't. The beat guys can't get anywhere near anybody. So it's become silliness at this point. Like I said, the draft last night was fun. Watching the players interact sometimes can be fun, but I didn't watch the whole second half last night. I turned it off.
Yeah, I went away from it. I mean, I saw that first play with Antetokounmpo, and I thought, well, all right, so they took him out of the game. Maybe they're going to look. If you went to play at the David Posnack Jewish Center, and you were with a bunch of crippled guys like me, and you knew you couldn't do the stuff that you used to do on a basketball court. But you wanted to get out there and shoot a little bit, and maybe get a sweat going, a schwitz. You would at least call for token pressure. Token pressure. Where you're 3 feet away from the guy, but you at least put your hand above your head if you can do it.
Your mother.
Or you yell something like your mother, as the guy's shooting the ball. Nothing. I mean, that was this Malone from the Nuggets said this was horseshit.
Well, yeah, and I mean now you know why Jimmy wanted to be in Argentina, because this is just not a Jimmy Butler game. What I mean? Like it's just not. So Jimmy was in Argentina and Buenos Aires, enjoying himself. There was no chance you were getting Jimmy to replace anybody on the All-Star team this year. He had no interest in doing it. It's still fun for Bam. If Tyler ever goes, it'll be fun for the first time. But
sure,
it's not worth it anymore for most of these guys.
All right, I know you got to run. Hey, Scoop, 9 o'clock, 5 Reasons Sports Network. Excellent stuff as always. We could talk all day. It's always a pleasure, my friend. And we will come up with something in short order because we need the exposure. And you have it, my friend. Great platform you've created. Yeah,
I'm on it, my friend. I'm on it.
We'll get on now. All right, thanks so much for joining us, Ethan. Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, thanks, guys.
I appreciate it.
Ethan Scoop Skolnick. He knows his heat and his basketball, no doubt about it. I don't mind. You know what? I'm not as appalled by like lame All-Star games as I thought I would be. Just because I mean it's it's like a showcase. It's not even as good. I mean, unfortunately, like when you have the Grammys and these musicians actually perform, as strange as some of them might be, and some of the choices are, and to the exclusion of others with what you would think would be a deeper rooted musical taste. But you at least see a performance. I mean, it's a show, and the game, unfortunately, is not really, anything indicative of what basketball is. Although they do chuck up a lot of threes. But I mean, the whole gathering and if they could fuse it somehow with some of the other stuff. I mean, it's unfortunate that the dunk has become a lame, just alternative consideration. Like you don't even know if you really want to check it out. If I didn't see that kid's first dunk. McClung, I don't know. I wouldn't have stuck with it at all, and I did turn away from it. But the guy, I got lucky every time I switched back to it. There was McClung doing something more outrageous. Like we said, he did look like the flying tomato there at the end, where the announcers got all excited, like Dick Button needed to call that. Here it is. It's going to be a 540 reverse axle triple Salchow. Oh. Remember how Button used to go nuts when, some diminutive skater would hit it? Notice I didn't use midget.
Yeah, diminutive's a good word. Yes.
All right. We had a good time being with you today.
Had a real fun time.
There's a bunch of stuff going on. Jim Sarney wanted to know if they do on 5 Reasons. They cover all of that stuff.
I don't know about Inter Miami. He wants
Miami. They don't do any soccer, no?
Shit about now. No one
When
cares
does
about-
Inter Miami play? That would be a good question
no
for
one
me.
cares. I think
What does their season consist of in terms of when it starts and ends?
no one
Do we
cares
know?
about MLS down here, and the fact that they're playing at fucking Lockhart, Dry Pink Stadium. It says how much we care about it. I mean, come on.
I mean, there are a few people that get into it.
I'm
and
not
I
mad.
don't know.
It's fine. Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, we're not gonna cover they. I think have someone that goes out there and says some stuff about it, but and we can't talk about the Marlins. We can barely talk about the Panthers. We're gonna talk about Inter Miami. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I said at the beginning of the show, that was one of the things that amazed me when I first moved here, started doing radio down here. Is I can't really say that because there were many people that tuned in and said, "Hey, we like the fact that you talk about all of this other shit." But you do get, I mean, just zoned into an exclusive football mentality. It seems like, and my buddy Ed Kaplan, who I often reference, used to have this theory that if a radio station existed that just talked about the Dolphins all day and addressed no other sports, they'd probably have success.
Well, now it would be Heat. Now you switch that for the Heat because the Dolphins
Yeah.
that went on to be mediocre for 20 years, and the Heat
No.
have been the banner franchise. Look, I like how we do it. I like that we talk.
Shouldn't they bring in Derek Carr for Tua? What do you think? Oh, if they were smart, I mean, cut the problem off at the pass right now and just say, "Hey, Tua, thanks." You're a
I
great
don't mind
kid.
Derek Carr.
You're speaking in Hebrew. You're seeing butterflies. I mean, we wish you all the best, man. I hope you can catch on with Washington, and that's it. You'll have Eric Bieniemy to coach you. See if he can make you into the next Mahomes. What if Bieniemy falls flat on his face and Washington sucks? I mean, that would be a disaster, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you want to stay at that point with Kansas City?
No. He'll look bad, but at least the other people, and I don't want the NFL looking good, but at least it'll be like, oh, see, they weren't wrong. What bothers me is what's going to happen.
There are plenty of crummy coaches, though, that come out of these coordinator positions and bomb. I mean, just are devout failures.
He deserved a chance, and it's a load of garbage that he had to go there. What's going to bother me is he's going to succeed there, and then he's
he can't do much worse. I mean, if they get any kind of quarterback play, he can't do much worse. What happened to that Heineken kid? I thought he was going to be all right. He tailed off. Yeah.
Howell at the end of the year looks solid. Like Howell actually looks like maybe he could be something. So they're gonna ride it with him. I don't know. I think the enemy
are any of these drafted quarterbacks going to be overwhelmingly influential as franchise changers?
I like Young. I just don't know if Young's what they think Young is. Like now they want the Bears to trade Fields, who has a lot of potential.
I like Fields. I don't know that he's polished enough yet.
Well, they don't have anything. They have no line. They have no receivers. They have no running game. And then they're like, well, he has to run. Yeah. What else should he do? Die? Like, I hope he runs. Better than getting
and it's Jordan Love. I mean, we're finally going to see him with the Green Bay Packers. Everybody says that they're getting rid of Rodgers for sure, that they hate him. There was some guy that covered the Packers for 100 years. Was born on the same day as Fuzzy Thurston. And he was saying, applying online at some podcast, that, there's no way Rodgers comes back there. Now we don't know that he plays. Everybody was connecting him with the Jets. I think the Jets would be better off with Derek Carr, if you wanted to go. Maybe you don't hit it in the first year. Rodgers, to me, seems like a one-year prop, doesn't he? If you thought you were just that close and, your quarterback sucked, I believe that Derek Carr can help them turn, their franchise into more of a consistent winner over the next 3-4 years, whereas Rodgers is probably one and done. You have to convince him every year that he wants to play, it seems like.
Well, that's a problem with Rodgers.
And he's going to be 40 years old, for God's sake.
He's still good. He's not great. Like, he's not the level for the trouble he brings. He just isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that having an aloof, distant, detached guy is really a good thing. Where the only thing you know of him is from what you can decipher from the Pat McAfee podcast. And other than that, that he's dated a lot of hot babes, and it hasn't lasted long with any of them. Right, and they all go on to great happiness and extreme pleasure in life.
That's after him.
Once they get rid of Rodgers, who's obviously Meshuggah in some way. Well, I mean, that haircut alone didn't it look like he was in plain Misty for me? I mean, like,
no, it looks like they're from Con Air.
Yeah,
Robbins always talks about the Con Air character, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and some grunge band out of Seattle.
Cage. Yeah, Nicolas Cage.
When Cobain was making everybody interested in playing that type of music. All right, We're going to see you guys later on from Tom's Louisiana Kitchen. We don't know exactly where. I don't know where it is, but we'll try and
Copper
find
Point Brewery in Boynton Beach. Everything. I don't. Tom. I guess it's a nice area. We need to get Tom.
Same general direction.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes away. Mayo says. So
okay, in what direction? Like west?
North. It's north of Nobu.
So how do you get there? You go up that same street?
I don't know. I use GPS. I don't know why we still can't get you to understand GPS.
No, I can GPS it. I just I like to have an idea before I get going on that. You know, because at the last second they go in 2 feet, turn right.
My problem is when GPS tells you to turn and you can't. Like surely
after the fact, you're down a one-way street. I mean, it's asinine. Some of this.
100%. I'm like, and I hate GPS.
It's getting people killed. Yeah,
have a fight. But I'll follow it. And my problem is when it tells me to go somewhere that I know is wrong. I'm like, I know you're wrong. Like, I've been there. Like, that's wrong.
I still think my idea was brilliant, the dashboard rabbi, which guides you by total negativity. Wait, what are you turning here for, you moron? You were lame in your bar mitzvah and you're lame now. Like, oh, okay. I guess I won't turn here. The Mustang, in a pure stroke of evil, worse than anything Tiger could have done by handing off a tampon to Justin Thomas. Actually put her voice in on the GPS thing.
Oh, no, God forbid.
So it was backseat driving with the GPS.
I would throw that.
It was her voice going, in 20 feet, turn right.
No.
I was like, what? It's Mustang, you got to be wrong. I don't believe you're right about any of these directions. You can tell east from west. What are you talking about? Not that she's not right, but, All right, we better run. I have to take a bunch of to-go stuff. I hope Tommy's prepared for a large to-go order.
We're like,
yeah. Oh, well, with Mayo, yeah. No, but Mayo takes everything out of there anyway, When he took that muffaletta sandwich, that thing that was the size of a globe, really like a large globe. I guess you could have those small globes that you used to buy, like at the pen and pencil set.
No, like a full globe.
Yeah. I'm talking about like a globe that you would see in some law firm office when you walked in there and you go, which one of these countries are labeled non-extraditable? You spin the thing and go, look at that, Ethiopia, man. They can't find you there. You're like Cohen trying to sue somebody for a car accident. All right, we'll see you guys later on. It's going to be a lot of fun because it's Mardi Gras, and there is no better. I honestly, I can say this without any qualification whatsoever. That Tommy T and the stuff he puts out there at Tom's Louisiana Kitchen, Nobo Brewery, usually in Boynton Beach.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, you may as well have just driven to Bourbon Street.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
It's as
right on the money. Right on the money with everything. It's absolutely great.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you're looking at, people are always saying, hey, where can I get good New Orleans food, including the grilled oysters that he puts out. But
yep. Well,
everything else, I mean, the jambalaya, outstanding. His gumbo is outrageous. I mean, it's so good.
Yep.
And then even a simple thing like red beans and rice, absolutely incredible. So I'm looking forward to a lot. I'm going to get a lot of that to go because, it's good for my diet.
I'm sure.
I'll be walking till my grave. There's no doubt about it. And you walk 4 miles every day? If I didn't, I would have died already.
Exactly.
It really is literally the walk of life, man. And I'm, stooped over, looking like I'm looking for quarters on the sidewalk. All right. We'll see you guys later on as we leave you know that. Mike Mayo's lunchbox. Oh, well, Mayo will be eating there, man. Will he touch everything first or stick a fork in that thing?
You notice I run. I don't let him. That's why I try to take over.
Yeah, you grab the stuff first. Don't let him handle it first. Yeah. Should be an additional charge for you handling the stuff before Mayo gets his hands on it. I hate to think where they've been, too. Now, we love you, Mike. We really do. He was gambling his brains out yesterday. I respect that. It's 9:07.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.